Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katie Nolful, and if you're new here, I make impractical crafts and lifestyle content. And this week I am actually a week late uploading because I am adding to an unfortunate series that I am calling I Seem to Be Laboring Under the Delusion That I Can Get What I Need to Done in a Week as a toddler mom who's also finishing school. TM. The truth is that just so many factors went into last Sunday me missing my upload, which is the first time in quite a while that I have done that. But if you clicked on this video, you know what it's all about. I finally got my grubby little hands on my kitchen, which was originally kind of a millennial gray because it was gray. When we first moved in here, my friend said, "Oh, honey, it's so gray." And I said, "I know. Give me a moment. I will fix it." So I just wanted to kind of talk you through how this all beautifully fell together, and I am in love with it, even though I kind of went into it without a real plan. So let's just hop straight on into it with the first thing I did for this project, which was I bought some wallpaper. And the unfortunate thing with that is it was a great idea, except for the fact that we cannot move our fridge. And if you cannot move your fridge, you cannot hang up wallpaper because you need to get up to your wall to hang up wallpaper. So I was not able to hang up the wallpaper, but I did get this amazing video of Hens and I attempting to. So without any further ado, let's take a step back into a moving picture of Hens and I attempting to hang it up. Okay, welcome back, moviegoers. I hope you enjoyed my silent movie of pure disappointment. We did end up using that wallpaper somewhere else. It's actually right over here in our hallway, and it is now a beautiful purple, which I am obsessed with. So not only did I get to paint one wall, but now we have two walls of color in our gray box. Just is so much better. I mean, come on. Obviously, I'm in bright yellow, and I have a pink couch, and now I have a purple wall and a green wall. So we just love color over here. And it helps that I am, in fact, a toddler mom. So there you go. When I painted the wall, it is so green. I got this video of me painting it, and even when I was painting it, I was like, ugh, like I wasn't so sure about it. I sent it to a friend, and she was like, "Oh, it's so green." But then another friend of mine loved it, and I decided I just kind of to stick out with it, see how it turned out, and you'll see that it actually all comes together super, super well because I end up having a bunch of green elements throughout my kitchen, which just really all ties in together. And so before we get into the actual decorating, now that the wall is painted, let's go to a mini thrift haul. The first three things that I have are these three plates. I believe they're each $4.99. I got them at Savers, and they are 3 Currier and Ives prints that have been put on plates so that I could hang them up. And I just loved the feel of them. They feel like old farmhouse, and so I fell in love with them when I found them, and so I got them so that I could hang them up in my kitchen. Next, I have this photo that came with my son's high chair, and that's actually his high chair in the photo, and I put it inside of one of the frames that I decorated in my cottagecore 70s dad video. And then I reached out to Hens's grandmother, Momo, and she wrote down this recipe in Danish for us because Hens's family comes from Denmark, and that's her famous apple cake. And then because of that, I went through and I found my grandmother's apple pie recipe. So we have both of our grandmother's handwritten recipes hanging up in our kitchen now. And I thrifted the frame for the apple pie recipe. This frame also came from Savers, and I printed out this poem that I really liked and I put it in it. Then I also have these 70s coasters that hang on this random wall, but my D&D group always ends up knocking them over, and so they have asked that I move them. So I'm going to go ahead and put them up higher in my kitchen. And then because I inherited a bunch of my grandmother's baby clothes, I also found this baby bib that has her initials on it. And so I ran to Joann's to buy a shadow box. And for that thrift haul, I didn't actually already have everything yet. So you'll see a few more elements as I am decorating as we go. An example of this is this æbleskive pan.
Æbleskive,
which is a Danish dessert, and I never mentioned that in any other video, so this gets hung up. As well as this Dollar Tree frame, which I weathered and
put some rub and buff to make it look more like the right, and I ended up putting this photo of my grandparents in it as well.
But it was time to start hanging up the plates. And honestly, the third plate that I hung up with scotch tape and ended up falling on my husband at like 2 a.m. So it is still down. During the reveal, you'll see it's not hung up yet, and that's because I need to figure out how to hang it up. So if you have any ideas, please let me know because scotch tape was not the way to go, and I'm really sorry to Hence because it did land on him. But on the other side, I ended up hanging up the coasters that were on a different spot on my wall that I remember playing with as a child at my grandparents' house, as well as I had an iron supplement bottle that ended up going bad, so I had to dump it. But I thought the bottle was pretty interesting, and if there's one thing about me, it's that I love weird bottles for my plants. And I was like, this is perfect because it's kind of like old vintagey feeling. And so I put it up in a macrame basket that I already had, and I have kind of a jungle look like already going on in my apartment. And the fact that I can now have plants in my kitchen as well just makes me so happy. I've been trying to propagate. I made a video where I made a plant propagator that hangs over here, and I am constantly taking clippings and I am putting them in there so that I can just move the plants all over the place. So, super excited that it is becoming useful because now I have not one but two in my kitchen. So you'll get to see the other one in a second. Also on that wall, I took a vintage Alice in Wonderland plate that I found in a pawn shop a couple of years ago and hence hung it up for me. And if you have been here any amount of time, you know that I have lots of Alice in Wonderland aspects all throughout my apartment. So the fact that I can now have one in my kitchen and it actually like fits because it's the tea party scene, I mean, come on, how how is that not perfect? And then also, if you didn't know, my grandparents met at Disneyland. My husband and I had our honeymoon in Disneyland, and so we have a small world clock face that I finally put some new batteries in, and I moved it to a better spot in the kitchen so that we can actually see it. And so now our clock is also working in there too, which is so exciting. Something that I knew I wanted to put up was my grandmother's baby bib. It's embroidered, I'm guessing maybe by my great grandmother. And so I ended up putting it inside of a shadow box. I was super nervous putting the push pins through it, but I decided that it was better to put it up so it can be protected in the long run rather than just have it float around from box to box. So now it's up and it can be appreciated. I did make a short where I went through and I restored a bunch of my grandmother's baby clothes, and this was one of those items in those shorts. I did because Joann's is going out of business, or went out for Joann's. I painted it brown. I painted the outside brown because it was a millennial gray. So I went through and I just kind of dry brushed on some brown, which not that you can tell from right here, but my colors are like brown. I like dark furniture, and the gray just was not doing it for me. So I painted the outside brown, and I think it fits in a lot better. And on top of the shadow box, I put a little silver spoon that I found at my grandparents' house when we were cleaning it out after they passed away. And I also put a little honey stick, a little honey wand that came from Owen's baby shower because it was teddy bear themed. So I think that really tied in together. And then also on that wall, I hung up three fairies that I already had up there. Do live in my kitchen, they always have. So I hung them back up, as well as my calendar. And above them, I have a basket because I'm addicted to baskets. It's a little bit sad. And I also put up our bundt cake pan because, in my mind, it reminds me of my grandparents because they always had their bundt cake pan on their wall in their kitchen. And then also sticking with that green theme, I found while I was looking through some embroidery that my grandmother did a green doily that I put on top of our fridge. And even though I am too short to see it, tall people like my brother in law Daniel, who's 6'6", when he comes over, he can see on top of our fridge. So it just kind of ties into that green as well. When you see the reveal, you'll see that I actually have like a lot of green in my kitchen, which was not really planned, but it all just perfectly fell into place. So you can't complain about that, can you? I also have an old candle that came from my parents' house that no longer can candle, but it can hold an old barbecue bottle that I put a couple of plants in because, of course, I did. So now it's up with my beloved goose and some plants as well as our cereal. On top of the microwave, I decided that I wanted to put some of my grandmother's embroidery. I know some people get kind of nervous with stuff like that, but I felt like that's where it belonged. I have been putting her stuff out all around our apartment, and I just want it to be seen. It doesn't deserve to sit in a box forever. And while I found that, I actually found four other embroidery pieces that I ended up hanging up. I think they must be handkerchiefs. I'm not entirely sure what they are. They might be napkins, some kind of handkerchief, but now they are hanging up so that everyone can see them. So without any further ado, let's get up off the couch and let's go have a look at our kitchen. Well, that's gonna do it for me. Thank you so much for being here. Usually I upload every other week, but like I said, I missed last week, so I will actually be seeing you next Sunday. And without any further ado, I'm gonna say toodles, toodles for my Joanne's. Woo! Scandals.